Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tamara Moore. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I have been working on a pop-up card that I want to share with you. I've modified it. It's called the Hexagon pop-up card, and I modified it to fit our standard Stampin' Up! Envelopes. So I've done a lot of prepping beforehand so I can explain how to do this card. And it is really simple. Once you do it, it's really simple. There are several pieces to it, but hopefully you'll craft along with me and make this card. I'm going to show you this card now. This is my sample I have done for the video, and I'm using the Cheerful Daisies bundle. Isn't that pretty? That turned out so pretty. I really love this card. And to mail it, you're just going to fold it. Now I have a little, there we go. Just tuck that in and you can fold it, and it mails like this and fits in one of our standard envelopes. So let's turn the camera around and let's get started. Okay, I have several things on my desk, and I'm hoping that I can finish in the time that my camera is allowing me. If not, I'll just have to piece the video together. But what I wanted to show you first off is you're definitely going to need some Stampin' Seal or our tape runner for this project, and then your glue. There will be some places that we use the glue. And I don't know if you're aware, but Stampin' Up! Has another kit that goes with your Take Your Pick tool, and it comes with a blade, which I'll be using today. It comes with a rotary cutter, and it comes with these other pick tools. There's a pick tool on either end. I'm gonna have to get some more Take Your Pick tools so I can just be able to grab them, and they'll have their ends on them already. So yeah, this is a really cool set. I'm really excited to figure out something with this rotary tool. So I wanted to show you that. So we're going to be using the blade today and just a little bit of that, and then I use the pick a lot to use that. So we're going to need those pieces. And then I wanted to show you guys really quick a card I just got in the mail the other day. And it is so, so beautiful. I love it so much. Beautiful fringe. This is from Mimi Bloom. So pretty. And I absolutely love it. It just makes me happy. Isn't that beautiful? So I just wanted to share that. Okay. So first off, in designing this card to fit in our standard envelopes, I wanted to make sure no matter how I made this card, it would fit in a standard envelope. And I've got a sample to show you that I didn't measure, and it's going to not fit in a standard envelope. You definitely could blow this up and make it bigger and taller. You're just going to need a different envelope. Our envelope size, I cut a piece of cardstock to show our envelope size. So this will fit right in our Stampin' Up! Envelope size. And I use this to decide how high I can have my decorations. So for this one here, you're definitely, I have these pieces here, so if you do something like that, you're going to need to just make sure it tucks and it folds really nice. And you can, if you cut yourself a template for the size of the envelope, you can see that I have about reached my maximum height for how much can be poking out the top. If you were to fold it this way, it would not fit in a standard envelope. So it's best to have it folded down. And if you have these little things there, just poke that in and it'll fit in there. And I've about maxed out my width here if it's something that's going to tuck inside here. So you just have to keep all that in mind when you're decorating. Okay. Now, I got really excited. This is one of the first ones I did once I modified the size to fit in our envelope, and I loved it, but then I did not measure correctly for this to fit in a standard envelope. These trees back here are too tall. So I would have to modify this design so that I could get this in one of our standard envelopes. But I really, really love it. And then I played with our tea set that is retired, but I still have some paper, and of course the Stampin' die set. And this fits right in here as well. But just to show you another sample of what you could do, here is another one I made with that set. And it's so pretty. Okay, so we're going to be doing the daisies. So what we're going to do, I have all my pieces cut here, and we'll go over them as I get to them because it's going to take just a little bit of time to get this stuff together. So what you're going to need, and I recommend using, and this is my template so I can measure as I'm decorating. I recommend using thick basic white cardstock, not just the basic white. It's a little thin, and I think that this pop-up Hexagon card sits nicer with the heavier cardstock. So you're going to need 2 pieces that measure 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. You're going to need 2 pieces that measure 1 3/4 by 6 inches. And then you're going to need, these will be later in the assembly of our card, but you're also going to need 2 pieces. These are 1/2 inch wide, and these are 2 1/2 inch long, okay? Once you have those pieces cut, then you're going to score them. Both of these pieces, both of these 3 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces will be scored the same. So again, these are 3 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces, and I will leave the measurements, if I remember, I'll leave the measurements down below. So on the scoreboard, you're going to score, and I've already pre-scored, but just to go over the process, at 1/2 inch, 2 inches, 3 1/2, and 5 inches. You're going to do the same thing for this one. 1/2 inch, 2 inches, 3 1/2 inches, and 5 inches. Set those aside, and once you've got those scored, then these 2 pieces here that are 1 3/4 by 6 inches, you're going to need to score at 1 5/8, 3 7/8, and 5 1/2. And the same thing here for this one, 1 5/8, 3 7/8, and 5 1/2. Okay, once you have those scored, then we can move on to the next step. And I do recommend using a scoreboard for that. And Stampin' Up, this one I had before I became a demonstrator, so I just use it, though I am going to be getting the other one. There's some benefits I like about it. But I do recommend using a scoreboard for this instead of your cutter for the scoring, just so that you have exactly the same score, because they're all going to be put together. So they're exactly the same. These pieces here, these 2 1/2 inch pieces by 1/2 inch that are scored at, you put it in scored at 2 inches, these will be used here in just a little bit. So let's start with this part here. These we can set aside for now. So what we're going to need to do, this is the inside. So this is this part of the card that all these flowers are hooked to, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take a ruler and you're going to measure in. So there's a score line right here. There's that 1/2 inch score line right there. You're going to measure just below the score line at 1/2 inch. And just put a little pencil mark, and it's okay if it's there, because a lot of this you're not going to even see. You're going to see one little portion of it. And then do that for all 4 sides. Measure 1/2 inch. Now you can do this, you would need to do this for all 4 pieces, or both pieces, both of these bigger pieces. But I'm going to show you something, just a little shortcut that I'm going to do here once we've got that ready. So we have those lines. So there's a score line here, 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 and here, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to mark this a little bit so you can see these score lines, hopefully. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at an angle, I want to meet up with this score line here and turn this so that lines up with that line, and I'm going to draw a line just like that. So I have that angle. This is going to give the angle that's going to fit in that pop-up once it's done. So you're going to do that on all four sides. I've been really loving the pop-ups ever since I made the first one, and now I'm just, this one has really drawn me. I really, really love this one, and it makes a statement. Okay, so now we've got all of those lines drawn. Our next thing we need to do is we need to cut it, and I need to clean my scissors, but I'm going to grab some bigger scissors so that way I can just get a straight cut. So we're going to cut down that line, that angle. We're going to do it on all four sides. Okay. So instead of drawing, don't worry about the pencil marks, you're not even going to be able to see them. So one thing, instead of drawing lines on both sheets, since I've cut these and scored these at exactly the same, I'm just going to stack them and line them up and hold this while I cut these other lines. Another thing you could do is make a template for this so you don't have to draw those lines anymore. Grab yourself some cardstock or cardboard of some sort to make your template, and then all you have to do is line it up on the card and do your cuts. I found cutting this way saved time instead of having to draw more lines. Okay, so these pieces are ready. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and score. They're already scored. We're going to fold on all the score lines. For these bigger pieces here, make sure you burnish. Fold it and burnish it. And for these are going to be the inside pieces. I would go back on it and flip it the other direction just to help train your paper to be able to fold very nicely in all the directions. Okay, so I've done it with that piece. We're going to do it with this piece as well. All right, so these have all been folded and burnished in both directions for these two pieces here. These pieces, you don't need to do that. You can fold in one direction. Okay, so these are now folded, and these are all folded in the direction that we need. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to set these two pieces aside for the moment, and what I'm going to do is we can do it the same on either side. This here is going to be your center, and these are going to attach like that, and then these pieces are going to attach on the inside, and there's your hexagon shape that's going to pop up. So with that, with this design, I want to do some brush coloring here, and I want to show you the colors that are in this card that I'm using today. All the stamping and everything and die cutting has been done ahead of time to try to save time, but these are the colors that I'm using: crushed curry, lemon lolly, blueberry bushel, granny apple green, garden green, berry burst, and boho blue. And boho blue is what we're going to be using for now. Okay, so what I want to do is I have two pieces here that I want to attach, and it doesn't matter that they're on the same side. I will show you how we're going to attach this, because when we put this together, it's going to come together as the opposite. I want to put these pieces here, and these pieces are oh, I have it written here. Those are 1 3/8 by 3 1/4. Now, when I was scaling this down to fit in our card, I was really trying to get quarter measurements, but it just wasn't possible. There's other instructions on to make the original size. Online on YouTube, you could just type in hexagon pop-up card, and I think that if I remember correctly, it's all in 1/2 and 1/4 inches. There aren't any 1/8 inches, but to scale this down, I needed to have the 1/8 inches. So again, these pieces are 1 3/8 by 3 1/4, and this is from our the suite, the DSP from the suite. So I'm just going to brush some boho blue on here, because I didn't want no white on the inside platform of the card. So and it doesn't matter. You do not have to brush off or anything. I'm going to grab this one that I've already been brushing on just to keep this one clean. So you can just, it doesn't matter if there's, the little brush strokes or anything on that, because you're not going to see much of it anyways. And I'm just more concerned about the edge, so that my white is gone, and it mostly is just blue. So that's good for me. And then this one here, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, that's good for me. You can definitely make it darker, do some more on it. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and attach these pieces on here. And the way I've been attaching them is I just kind of eyeball. There isn't much room here. There's going to be just the tiniest bit showing. So I've just put my glue right up to about where I think it's going to hit. This is to save my scissors from getting any more adhesive on them. And just get that glue on there. And then you're going to want to make sure your top edge here hangs over. So just kind of center that best you can on there, and make sure that both sides of this hangs over. We're going to do the same thing here. Okay. Let's make sure that it hangs over. There we go. Okay, so those are now attached, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, this is just to decorate this this inside. So we're going to go ahead and just cut this along this edge, trim that off, and do the same thing on this one. Okay, so those are, these will be the inside top. So that will be what you see here. Okay, now what we want to do, and I'm going to bring in my cardboard here. This is just a piece of cardboard from something, and I fold it in half because we're going to do some cutting. So these pieces here, these are all 1/2 inch pieces, and if you trim your paper, this is a good way to use up those 1/2 inch pieces. And this is going to provide our mechanism. I'm going to go ahead and fold these because we're going to get close to that. So go ahead and fold your, remember these are 2.5 inches. Put it on your scoreboard and score it 2 inches. That'll leave a 1/2 inch that's going to attach for our mechanism for our pop-up. So you can use more than these, but this is just what we're going to do. You can put in as many of these as you want. You also will need, if you decide to do something other than the design I'm doing, you will also need a piece, at least one, that will go in here. That's going to sandwich in between this. We're not using that today for this design, but you would need one to sandwich in there so you can glue your pieces. And I will show you, we're going to attach a piece here. This is going to keep this from sliding in, and you'll see more as we're doing it. And it will give you something to attach stuff to. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to make some cuts with our new tool. We're going to need a ruler. And I'm just guesstimating. You're going to need a little more than a 1/2 inch so those pieces can go in. And I'm going to go approximately in the middle. So I don't really care where. I'm just kind of approximating. And I approximate my where I'm going to put my cut. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut here, and I'm going to cut a little bit more than 1/2 inch. Slide it down just a little bit because you want it to be able to fit in there nicely without anything preventing it from moving, because it will need to move. Okay, and then I'm just going to go here and just slice. Let's see, is that, you may need to slice a little bit more. Okay, I'm just going to poke that through to the other side and pull that off. So there's one, and it's okay, it's crooked. You're not going to be able to see any of that. Do the same thing on the other one. Kind of choose center-ish and do approximately a 1/2 inch, a little bit more than 1/2 inch. Move the ruler down a little bit and then do the same. Cut there, and then we'll just cut that out. This is a very sharp blade. Okay, make sure you put your lid back on there. I'm clumsy and I've cut myself with all different kinds of blades, so I just want to make sure I cover that up because I will cut myself. Okay, so we've got those cut. Now let's do some glue preparation. So each of these sides are going to need some adhesive, and these 1/2 inch pieces right here that are on this, okay? And so are these. These are going to need some adhesive. So what we're going to do first, and I'm going to bring out, I have my little thing of goodies here. I have stamped the stems from the set. Let me grab that set and show it to you really quick. It's this set here. So I've stamped this and die cut it. I've stamped it in garden green. These are what I put in place of these in the center for the flowers. So we're going to need these as we're putting it together, but I have them out and set aside. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tape runner. And I'm going to add adhesive on all these sides, but don't remove them yet. So just measure. And I'm putting 2 pieces on each side. You probably could get away with not doing it, but you would definitely need it towards the top. But I just want to make sure that my card sits nicely and it's not pulling away or anything, to make it not sit nicely when the recipient receives this card. Okay, so I have adhesive on this side and this side. I'm going to go ahead and get all the adhesive put on, and then I'll be right back and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I have adhesive everywhere that needs adhesive. The other thing I did not mention was you need to add it to this centerpiece right here in the middle. And you want to make sure you have some right in this, right below the score line, or right above the score line here, on both sides, so that they don't open up. And then I just put one down the center. That seems to hold just fine. Okay, we're still going to need the score tape, but not right now. So I've played with different ways to put this together, and for me this is the easiest way. So what I'm going to do, and I have my tear tape here, I'm going to release the backing paper on one of these 6-inch pieces. And I'm just going to go ahead and release that. And this helps me line it up. When I tried some of the video suggestions I saw on how to put it together, I had a hard time lining this up. And for me, this is the easiest way for me to make sure that it lines up all the way around and it lays very, very nicely. So this is going to go inside. I'm going to use the non-sticky side. This is going to go inside here, and that is going to go inside there. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to place, I've released it on this side. I want to go right up to the edge and make sure it's lined up top and bottom, and just lay it down. And then I'm going to go inside and just burnish and make sure that's really, really down really good. And then I'm lined up. I might be a little bit off, but you are not going to be able to tell. So this is lined up so that nothing is hanging over or short. This to me is the easiest way that I have found. So there's our sides put together. We'll close it up here in a minute. Now for these pieces, what we're going to do is we're going to, it will flip to the right direction. We're going to attach these 2 pieces to this. Okay, so that's the next step. I'm just going to make sure these are down really good. And I'm going to do the white side first, not my blue side, but the white side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this, since I'm doing it on camera. I'm going to go ahead and release the paper from this, from the white side. You don't want to release the paper from the other side yet. I'm going to make sure I don't have any, excuse my inky finger, I decided just to dip it in the ink today. So I'm going to flip this down now that that's released, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to line this up with that edge so it's flush in between the score marks. And then just lay that down and burnish it. I'm going to do the same thing so that we'll have a piece that looks like this. I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So I'm going to remove the release paper from this adhesive. And we're going to do the same thing, and we have these shorter sides. This is the bigger side, so you need a side. You're going to do it right in the middle, and you're just going to line it up flush with that edge in between the score marks. Okay, and burnish that and make sure that's down really good. Now that we have these two attached, we can add our mechanisms. So the first mechanisms we're going to add are these here. Now see, well, you'll see that when we get there. So I've added adhesive to both of these pieces. These pieces need to be so this fold needs to go in this way. Okay, so that the adhesive is facing away from you. And you're going to go ahead and well, first, sorry, we need to add our T's. We need to make this a T. So we're just going to pick some of our scrap here and see. You can have however long, however wide, just depends on your design. I'm going to go ahead and do these two pieces here. Let's see, which one's going to be my back? So on one piece, so on this piece with the adhesive away, I'm going to glue a piece of this thick white, basic white cardstock here, and I'm going to make a T on this one. Okay? And I'm just going to go down the same distance. I'm going to have it flush. It doesn't matter if it's straight. You're not going to see most of it anyway. For this one, for the T, since it's on the opposite side, I'm going to have the adhesive facing me, and then I'm going to add my piece here to make this a T, and I'm just going to line it up flush with the edge. Okay. Now, to add these pieces in here, your adhesive needs to be away from you. Go ahead and slide it in your slot that you made. Slide it down. You're going to open it up. And we're going to remove the release paper from this. And I'm going to make sure my edges are in here that might be sticking out. So I'm going to make sure that this is flush, so it's all the way down. And you can pull on this a little bit just to make sure it's straight and pulled all the way down. Flip that up and fold this over. It's going to attach here to this piece. So you want to make sure this piece here, when you fold it, you're going to want to fold this in on it. So fold, I know this is going to be floppy and flimsy, but you're going to want to make sure that this is folded here, fold that in and down, and burnish that. Once you have that, then that's making this take shape. So there's your mechanism there that's going to hold the right distance and have this start to take shape. This will fold any way you want it to fold once it's done. We're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to slide this in with the adhesive away from us. Okay, put that down there. Remove the adhesive paper. And I am working on instructions for this too, handwritten or typed up instructions. Okay, so with that pulled down flush, you're going to make sure it needs to attach to this piece right here. Fold that over and lay it down. Burnish on the back, and then you can, when you open it up, you can take it and burnish it, or you can lay it down and burnish it. There we go. Okay, so now we have these two pieces attached. The next thing we're going to do to get this box together is we're going to remove the release paper from these. Okay, so first we'll remove from this one. There's that one. And I'm going to take this with this 1/2 inch fold right here, and I'm just going to lay this down, and I'm going to fold this over. Have that burnished. Now we've got part of our box here. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Lay that down, remove the release paper, and you could do this all at the same time, but just for video and just so that it's easier to follow, I'm just doing each one individually. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold this over where this 1/2 inch is attached, and I'm just going to fold this and press it down. Okay, and you can also go in with your bone folder at this point. Just make sure everything's down really good and burnished. Now we have the 2 halves of this box. So this will fold any way you want to at this point. Now what I want to do is I want to kind of see which is going to be my front and back. That's going to be my front because the way that these are facing, I don't really want, that's the back, I don't really want to see that. So I'm not that I'm going to, but so I need to add my greenery, and if it's easier you can just kind of fold it together and see where you want to put it. Okay, so I know that because I have adhesive on this side, I'm going to need those facing down. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the release paper on this. I'm just going to do it on this top one here because I can turn it around and see, and you can put quite a bit of this up. It will still fit in the card. So I just kind of want to see where I want to put this. I think I want that about there, and then do the same thing with this one. I'm going to have that one kind of tilted in a little, I think. There we go. Now I'm going to flip that back around, and I'm going to take some more adhesive, some of our tear tape, and I'm going to put it across there to hold it and also give the adhesive back for us to attach these 2 pieces together. Okay, so here is the part where we get this box all together now. We need to remove the release paper from here and from this flap. We are going to do these all at the same time because once you close this box, it's really hard to get the adhesive in between these pieces. Move all the release paper here. Make sure your edges are in here, no glue piece edges there. And then we're going to remove the release paper on this flap. Okay. So you can have these folded any way you want, but I'm finding it easier with my, since I have that way. We're going to fold this in half. So where this 1/2 inch that we attached here, we need to fold on that side of the line there. So we're going to fold, make sure our bottom edges, and I usually hold onto this so that I can make sure that this portion of the card is lined up so it sits right. I'm going to go ahead and attach that at that edge. And then make sure this is lined up. There you go. Now our box is attached. There is the beginning of our box, and the best way to get this to go so that it'll lay nicely is just fold it a couple times. It just burnish it some more if you want to, just to make sure that it lays. And then once you get it, once you play with it a little bit and start decorating, it's going to lay really nice. So there's the start of our box. Remember, in the center here, you'll use pieces like this. You'll cut your piece size, how, if you want one in the center or a couple off to the side, that's what you're going to use. But instead for this design, I use this, and everything I stamped is on thick basic white cardstock. I use these pieces instead of the other pieces. Okay, so now we're going to start decorating. I'm going to bring this in just to help me to make sure I get all of these pieces in. Now you can, to make sure it fits within my envelope. Now you can start with decorating the inside, you can decorate the outside first, it's really up to you. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start with the inside pieces. Now I have all these pieces that I've cut from the die set that comes in the bundle with the Cheerful Daisies. I have my sentiment pre-cut. We'll go over these pieces in a minute. I have all my flowers pre-cut. You can do so much with this and decorate this with so many stamp sets, die sets. So much fun, as you've seen from some of the samples I showed earlier in the video. Get my leaves out. So I decided for this card I was going to do all stamped and die cut images, not the ones that also come in the die set where you can just layer just cardstock. This one out, and that's good. Okay, so we have all the rest of the pieces we need for the card. So for this, the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to see how I want to set this on here. And I think I want to do this on here first, although I think I might want to bring it in a little bit more just so I don't have any problems when I'm folding it in. So let me see if or I could do it up. No, I don't want to do too high up because this flower is about as high. You might be able to go just a little bit higher. I could do it like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my glue. Now you're going to just need your glue. And I'm going to go ahead and attach this on this side. And this is so fun with this pop-up design, because you can change it and do whatever you want. You want to make sure that whatever is sticking over, it can be sticking over the edge. It's going to have, you have this much room for stuff to stick over the edge. It needs to fit in here if it's down inside. Otherwise it won't fold up nicely. So keep that in mind when you're decorating. And then I'm going to go ahead and add, I cut this out of wild wheat. And I'm going to go ahead and add this, and I think I'm just going to add it to the back of the flower like that. So I'm just going to put some liquid adhesive on the front of this. Maybe a little bit more just to make sure it gets on there really good. So I'm going to attach that to the back of the flower, the daisy. Let's make sure it goes in. Yep, let's make sure it fits in our card. Yes, it will fit. Can't go any higher than that. Okay. And then I'm going to put, these I did in Blueberry Bushel, and I did second generation stamping. So this is first generation, this is second generation. This is Berry Burst second generation coloring on the flower, and then I use second generation crushed curry on that. I'm thinking I want the bold blue right here, like that. So we'll go ahead and attach that to this white piece. And then let's see, I think I want to do a leaf coming out here. Maybe I want it up here. I think I'll just attach that leaf to the back so I could have some greenery back there. That looks about good. Okay, so I've got my back decorated. Now let's do the stems. I could fold this up to do that too. So we're going to do the stems, and I'm just going to attach these flowers to the stems. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive there. Press it down, make sure that's good. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other side here. Just a little bit of adhesive right there. Okay, there's those, and then I'm going to go ahead. I have a few of these. I did 4 leaves in Granny Apple Green, which is this color, and then I did 4 in Garden Green, and I won't use them all, but just to have them. I'm going to go ahead and attach leaves on both sides of these flowers. So I'm just going to add some glue here to the front and poke that behind. And I thought it would be fun just to have the 2 different greens so that you have kind of a variety of green colors here. The same thing with that, poke that behind right there. The stamp kind of shows you where you can stick some leaves on the stem. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Just a little bit of glue right there. Stick that one behind. Holding it for a second just to make sure it attaches. And then this one. Okay, so there is the center. It's coming together very nicely, I think. Make sure these are all glued down. Yep, those are down good. Okay, now we're going to decorate the front. So 2 of these flowers I'm saving. So I have this flower here, and I just need to decide where I want it. Now, I made this bigger than I did on my other card, so I might want to utilize some of these flowers to help fill it in. And I have added some of these here. So let's go ahead and add these pieces here. So we're going to go ahead and see how much of it needs to be. Oh, right there. And then add this other piece on this other side. Okay. I think I want it more on this side here. All right, those are added. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and, now when you're laying down, make sure you don't want to go below this white strip, because otherwise it won't sit right. So this white strip is sitting on top, whoops, on top of there, so you want to make sure that this flower doesn't go up below that. So I think I'm going to put that kind of right there. Flush with that edge. There we go. So there's the flower on the front there, and I think I want to go ahead and add some of these. I might tuck that back behind to figure out how I want it to sit. I want it to sit like that. And we still have a couple leaves left, so I could tuck some leaves behind there. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tuck this leaf right behind here. That's pretty. And let's see about the other side here. Maybe I want that one up front. Yeah, I'm gonna have that in front of that daisy. There we go. And should we put another leaf in there? Could put a leaf right there. Okay, there's my decorated card. The inside. Now this will fit. You just need to watch for your pieces here that are delicate, and it will fit in this just like that. Okay, so we have these left. Now we're going to go ahead and decorate the front, and you will need, for the DSP, for DSP decorated fronts, I'm using, again, it's the same blue, the painted blue that was on there. You're gonna need, get to my measurements, you're gonna need 4 pieces that are 1.5 inches by 1 5/8. 4 of these. The other 2 pieces will be 2 1/8 by 1 5/8. Okay, now I'm just going to simply close this card and just start adding these pieces. So these bigger pieces, 2 1/8 by 1 5/8, are going to go on the center front and the center back. These other pieces will go on the rest of the sides that don't have any. So we're going to go ahead and just start attaching these. I'm going to make sure that's lined up. That moved on me. Flip that over. And I'm going to attach this on the back. Okay. Now these pieces we're going to go ahead and do on the sides. I just think the back of these DSPs for this card make this, it just makes the sides look so nice. Okay, and then we'll get these sides on, and go ahead and make sure you have it sitting right, because it isn't perfectly square. So if you twist it like this, it's not going to fit right. So you have to make sure that you are placing this in the right direction. And then the last piece here. All right, so while this is still folded, I did some extra flowers here. I'm going to go ahead and attach on the side here. And I'm just going to do it on the front, because when this card is displayed, the back is not going to be seen. You certainly could do every side or every panel, but I'm just going to do it on the front here. And then this is the die cut that comes in the bundle for the sentiment, and I used my go-to greetings to get the thank you on here. So I'm just going to center that and attach it right there. All right, so there is our finished card. And when it is popped up, and it just goes, if it does this, you just move it in a little bit, set it down, and it will sit very, very nicely on the desk or a table or whatever for display. And then when you're sending this card, I would recommend you cut a piece of cardstock to go over the front and the back just to protect it. This will cost you extra postage if you're mailing it. But for your writing space, you can write on the bottom here on both sides. If you're using the white card base to make these cards. If you're using colored, then you can just put some white space here on the bottom if it's not a colored cardstock that you could write on. So here is our Hexagon pop-up card. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you play with it and come up with a bunch of other creative ideas that you can do with it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.